Hello, my name's Tom Carhill. It's Tuesday, the 13th of May 2014. This video is about a horrible, disgusting, perversive organisation which is operating in the United Kingdom at the minute. If you're watching this video, unfortunately, it's very likely that you've been hoodwinked by this company, or you're potentially going to be hoodwinked by this company. That's the wrong word. This organisation, I'll call it. The organisation in question is called Options Not Adoptions, and it's been set up by two extremely disgusting lowlives. One of them is called Belinda Mckenzie, one of them is called Tony Farrell. Now, if you have got any interest in this company, like from a kind of user point of view, as opposed to a critic or somebody who would potentially be confused and thinking you might want to support it, you've got to first of all look at these two people and their backgrounds. Now, Tony Farrell appeared like a puff of smoke a few years ago with this story that he was an intelligence analyst of South Yorkshire Police, and he'd been got rid of because he was saying that in some report that 7/7 and 9/11 were done by the British establishment and it wasn't done by agents. This is his kind of cover story to give him a bit of cover, that he'd been sacked. Now, I only ever seen him one time, and on that first time I'd never heard of him or seen of him before. I just knew there was a man who'd been sacked from South Yorkshire Police allegedly for being an intelligence analyst, for, you know, not going along with the government's nonsense story. So I went along because I thought that's not very good. He needs, you know, he might need to support. The point was, very first time I seen him, he was clearly a liar. He couldn't get his story straight, and he kept whinging and moaning on, and he kept going on about how he's a Christian. And people who keep going on about how they're a Christian, it's just like people who go, "I hope you trust me to tell the truth," or, "Oh, do you think I'm lying?" You know, when someone's trying to sell you some bullshit, like, or trying to sell you something you don't want to buy, and they go, "Oh, you said I'm lying? Oh, I hope you trust." Or anyone who keeps going on about trust, or anyone who keeps going on about religion is not religious, right? Oh, sorry, he is religious, but it's not any kind of religion you'd want to be involved with, because it's very evil. Here's a concept of religion, and this Christianity is just a cover for it, yeah? He's not a Christian any more than I'm a Talmud-reading Jew, right? So it's as simple as that. He is not a Christian, right? There's no question. Now, more recently, somebody said, I know somebody who works for South Yorkshire Police, they've never even heard of him. No one's heard of him there. He's just made the whole thing up, right? Now, so we don't know where, when I say he appeared like a puff of smoke, we don't know where he came from. No one knows where he came from. I suspect not even this country. I think he's been out of the country. That's why I think he's just appeared like that. Now, Tony Farrell is a low-level plonker, right? There's no intelligence about him, so he comes across as quite genuine. He doesn't come across like a calculated, creepy. Well, he does come across as a bit creepy when you actually pick him up on something. But you see, catering for my audience here, if you're in an agitated state because the state's trying to take your children off you, the last thing you want to be doing is going and speaking to somebody who's trying to trick you, because you're in a vulnerable state and you're going to want to believe what they're saying. So you've got to be much more careful, because you've got to realise that intelligence and your deductive ability is largely a kind of subjective state, which happens depending on how well you are doing. You know, like if you're in a beaten down state, you are acting, it retards you. You're not working at your optimal state. You know, everybody is a product partly of their environment. So it might, you know, but if you're in that situation, you're not thinking at your best. You're really not. I know I'm not, and I know that I'm considered clever by most people who know me, and I always know I'm clever. So if I know that it happens to me and I start doing stupid things when I'm under stress, then I know that it's obviously going to be much worse for anyone. And if someone was trying to take children off me, or they've taken them off me, and they're saying you're never going to see them again because some cunt social worker just come around and decided to fill up their quota, obviously you'd be beyond, you know, I mean, your brain is not going to be operating on its best level. I mean, of course it's not, right? So, Tony Farrell is not to be trusted. Look into his background, and if what I said there doesn't convince you about him, there's another thing, right? More recently, and this has changed, this story again has changed, he's published different things about it. He started to, probably maybe 2 years, no, maybe even longer than that maybe now. There was this lady, she looks like a sort of a West Indian. She looks a bit like, I think, I could be wrong, maybe she looks like Aston, I'll ask it anyway. But she's called Charles 7. This is apparently what her name is, right? And this is the story that Tony Farrell is pushing, right? It's absolute ridiculousness, right? It's absolutely, no one with any sense is ever going to believe this. She thinks the 7/7 bombings were done because she's called 7. Yeah, right. Yeah, because, I mean, I know lots of Jamaicans called 7 who are, Charles, who are women and have got 7 as their surname. I mean, I know lots of slave owners who went over to Jamaica were called 7. No, they weren't, right? So, Charles 7, allegedly, they did all these bombs in London, or didn't do bombs, whatever they did in London on the 7/7 event. That was all done, not by some Indians and a Jamaican, another Jamaican, see they crop up everywhere. Weren't done by them for that reason. They were done by the government, set them up to scare her out of her copyright for things like come dancing and stuff, and because she come up with the idea for it. Well, again, look it up. Charles 7, Tony Farrell. Then, when someone says that story's mental, you shouldn't be supporting her because she's obviously mental. She needs to be like she's a psychiatric case. Just ignore her. You shouldn't be pushing it. He then starts saying you're racist. So this guy don't have anything to do with him. Right now, Tony Farrell's the lesser of two evils, believe it or not. Belinda Mckenzie is the other person who runs this charity. Now, apparently, it's also backed up by some legal firm. But the website keeps appearing and disappearing. So when people complain about it, all of a sudden the links disappear and stuff like this. This is what I'm told. But I haven't even actually ever managed to get onto the website, because when I've tried to click on it, it just hasn't even opened up. But options, not adoptions. That's what it's called, right? Now, Belinda Mckenzie, she's been involved with various things over the years. But it's not just one or two things, it's everything. And what she does, she tries to get involved with things. There might be a genuine cause, and she'll get in there, start causing trouble, and she'll sort of take it over. And she'll subvert it. So she gains people's trust. Now, some people say she's actually an expert in brainwashing techniques. And I find her very, very creepy, and she says very strange things. But she's never actually directly talked to me, but she's talked to me when I've been sat there with another couple of people. But she is a very manipulative, horrible person. But I can't really be bothered to go into the exact details of this because I don't really know. I just know from enough people that she is. However, let's just stick with the facts. If you want to prove to yourself very quickly that she's absolutely bad news and you don't have anything to do with her, right? Considering if it's a state who are trying to take your children off you, I'm not sure she obviously has got the protection of the state. So whether they're financing her or not, I don't know, but they're definitely protecting her. And we know this because, probably 15 years ago, she set up this charity called Iran Aid, which was meant to help Iraqi orphans. Now, the story was they weren't allowed to tell anyone about the Iraqi orphans because otherwise the rulers in Iran would get jealous and they might, seek retribution against these little orphans and getting money given to them. So that was a story. But the more that people looked into it, it turned out the whole thing was just a big sham. It was worth millions, though. She got millions out of it. And then when they started to investigate, and they said, right, that's it, you're not allowed into that place where you store the records. We doing an investigation. The Charities Commission did an investigation. She took all the remaining money, put it in her own bank account, yeah, and then she shredded all the information. So they just let her go in and steal it all. And you see, this is a serious criminal offence. She should have gone to prison by default for that, no question. This is worth millions. This is not worth 1.2 million. It's not worth 3 or 5 million or something like that. So she stole it. She stole all the money. And the Charities Commission very rarely, because they're obviously not meant to be sort of there to solve crime. They're just meant to say there's a regulatory breach. They said this is definitely fraud, so we can't be involved with this. There's ample evidence that she's just stolen all the money. The police never did anything about it because they reported it to police, didn't do anything about it. So Iran Aid, right? She's been involved with that. She's been massively involved with the Holly Gregg case. If you look into that, you'll find there's lots of things very suspicious about it. Right now, I don't really know what I make of the Holly Gregg case, but what I do know is, right, if somebody puts you under scrutiny and people are mocking you and saying it's all a load of nonsense, what you do is you put up all the evidence you've got. Not just somebody saying there's evidence, you put it up. They haven't done that, so that makes me think either they're just totally useless, never going to get anywhere, which I think is definitely the case anyway, and I knew that to start off with. But the point is, they're not to be trusted, right? It doesn't mean, let's just say, put it in a completely neutral scientific capacity, right? It either means they don't know what they're doing, so they don't know how to rebuff fair comment, because you rebuff fair comment by showing the evidence, don't you? And the other thing is, and a lot of that evidence could, can be shown. It's not all like protected by gag orders or anything like that. And the other thing that they could do is they could, you could look at it and you could say, well, obviously the whole thing's just a big massive scam. Now, I think the whole thing's a big massive scam, but I don't know if all the people involved with the scam know that it's a scam. They're just like well-meaning idiots, sort of thing. That's what I think it is, and they're being used. And you've got to put it when I say idiot, yeah. If somebody's being manipulated by someone who's very clever in nasty, subversive sort of hypnotism type techniques where they trick people, it can be very sophisticated. It can get anyone. It can also get very intelligent people. Otherwise, it doesn't just work on stupid people. That's absolutely not the case. In fact, if you're more intelligent, often you're more susceptible to, because there's more ways they can come at you. Anyway, so options, not adoptions. It's bad news because she set up a charity, stole all the money, and the police didn't do anything. If you think the state is after you, or they've taken your kids, she's obviously been protected by the state because they didn't investigate her. She's not in prison. So you can't trust them. Other people in this circle should not be trusted because there's other people, and I'll spiel them off. You've got Brian Gerrish. Brian Gerrish links to Roger Hayes. Roger Hayes said you can get your children back by putting on the judge or some nonsense like this. Absolute nonsense, or on a council official. No such thing as commercial liens. He knows that. He was just lying. He's a disgusting subversive. Brian Gerrish, even more pervasive. Again, Roger would be like the equivalent of Tony Farrell in the Belinda Mckenzie Tony Farrell context with the Brian Gerrish Roger Hayes. Roger Hayes is well, he used to be an alcoholic. I don't know if he's on the piss so much anymore because he seems to have lost a bit of weight. He was drinking 5 bottles of wine a day whilst apparently being an activist. Now, I can occasionally drink, I reckon in a day I could possibly drink 5 bottles of wine, but I'd have to go to sleep in between it or something. It's possible. I could possibly do it, but I'd have to go for a couple of sleeps, and I'd be completely fucked. So if you imagine how much activism he'd been doing in that period when he was hitting the activism hard, 5 bottles of wine a day, and that was all being financed by this nasty old racist who was giving the UK column money, and then they were giving him £500 a month plus any expenses. The wine was expenses, so 5 bottles of wine plus everything else is expenses. That's not expenses. So don't trust these people. Right? Everything comes down to them. Subversion, money. Not all of them are into the subversion. They don't even know. They're just disgusting freeloaders who are big heads, right? Then you've got other people spin off from them. You've got this guy called Bill Maloney. Now, Bill Maloney comes across as a nice guy, and I actually think he possibly is. But he's so stupid that he doesn't realise that he will know that these people who he's very close to are bad news, or at least people have told him, so he should know. And if he doesn't know, then there's a problem. You've got a problem with this guy. Do not trust Bill Maloney. Also, he puts lots of silly things into everything he does. It's all very, very simple. It's I've got this charity. It's called Fighters Against Child Abuse. Fires! And then some shadow boxing in the background. It just makes him look like a complete cunt, right? And then worse. He keeps going. I can't stop swearing. What was it? I mustn't swear. I mustn't swear. And he, every time he's ever at any kind of these demonstrations, he just turns up at. He just sort of rambles on about a load of nonsense. And he just says things that people already knew, he sort of says things like Leon Britton, all the suspicions on Leon Britton, that's his latest one. Nick Clegg, the suspicions on him, knowing about this paedophile epidemic in Parliament. It's anyone who's got any sense knows all that, don't they? Would you really go up to protest just to get, is that your message? So you've travelled all the way up there, you've got some time to speak, and then he spends the whole time going, I mustn't swear because I'm on camera, ooh, and he goes, and he's sort of and then there's these policemen around. He's not shaking hands and going, you're going to nick me, blah blah blah. He's a fuckwit. Just ignore him, right? He's either deliberately doing it because he just thinks he's a big, massive joke, which I don't think he is. I just don't think he knows what he's doing, and he's an egomaniac. He doesn't mean badly. He's not a bad man, but he's never going to get you anywhere. Now, obviously, the alternative is using solicitors and stuff. People think, but I can assure you that isn't the case. There are a lot of good people who have been associated with Brian Gerrish and been associated with Belinda Mckenzie, but not associated with Colin Farrell. But you see, these people, if you say, for instance, look at videos and stuff they've done, you'll see people commenting, and you'll be able to comment on them, or you'll be able to get in touch with them, or probably Facebook things and stuff like that. And you will be able to get in touch with people who can help you. Now, when I say help, obviously, if you have your children taken away from you by the state, they're probably not going to give them back. A very reliable source would be David Noakes, Noakes, and he's done a talk about it. And if you look at his talks, he'll explain a lot of this stuff. But he talks in very matter-of-fact terms. But he'll just say you're not going to get your children back. Now, Brian Gerrish has actually said, if the state have taken them, you're never going to get them back. He has actually said that now. But the whole point is, and he said it quite a while ago, while simultaneously Roger Hayes was saying, no, you can get them back, we've got lots of success. He actually cut Brian down to say that. So, they're not all on the same exact message. But the point is that other people have been in similar situations. There are support networks for these people. But you will often find them because they will be criticising the counterintelligence program people and the disinformation agents like the people I've just mentioned. So that's what I do. Options, not adoptions, is absolutely, definitely bad news. They had something similar called the Mckenzie's Friends, not from Belinda Mckenzie, the name. Mckenzie's Friends is a term for somebody who helps someone in a court case. And it was a similar, complete con. And I believe Tony Farrell wasn't he involved with that? It doesn't really matter whether he was or he wasn't. I think he was. The whole thing is a con. Everything they're involved with is a con, but it's not really necessarily to get money all the time. It's not that type of a con. It's a con. They're being financed by somebody to subvert you. And this whole thing about stealing people's children, make no mistake about it, it's a part of communism. It's a Marxist technique. Communism, if you look, I think there's the 5 planks of communism. It's to destroy the family. That's why they're promoting all this disgusting, subversive stuff. They want to destroy the family. If they take your children, that's part of the Marxist agenda. And if the Tories get in, which they're already in, they're Marxist as well. Every single government, party in England, they're all Marxists. They're all communists. Every single one's pro-EU. They want us to go into the EU collective, and they don't want people to have this concept that their children are theirs, or they belong to each other. They don't want you to have that. They want you to think they want to get children away from their parents, to teach them all sorts of subversive stuff, completely destroy the family, and then it will be much easier for them to bring in the the depopulation program, which is part of another thing you should look up if you look at destroying the family is the UN's Agenda 21. That's Agenda 21. Look at Agenda 21. You look at that. Destroying the family. It's all part of the same thing. Once you understand this, it will bring you some solace if your children have been taken away from you. But do not have anything to do with these scumbags, because they're absolute lowlives and they're so incredibly evil that it will make your situation worse, however bad it is. And I know it will be very bad. Anyway, my name's Tom Carhill. Feel free to contact me. You can contact me on this video anytime you want. You can get through and contact me, or you can get me on email. You can get me on T00M Carhill, that's Charlie Alpha Hotel, Indigo Lima Lima @gmail.com, or on Skype, it's Tango 0 Mike Charlie Alpha Hotel, Indigo Lima Lima. That's T0, not an O, 0. So it's T0M Carhill, CAHILL. That's my Skype name. It's the 13th. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, the 13th of May, 2014. So I don't mind hearing from you, but as I said, I'm not putting myself out to be able to help you here. I'm just saying that if you want pointing in the right direction, or if I haven't totally convinced you with what I've said, because the whole point is you're obviously in a very bad situation, depending on how you've come to discover that website, and you've probably seen this video underneath it. All right, thanks very much. Bye now.